Give me some vocals, Chuck. Don't speak.
I'm trying to think of what my girls have been listening to lately.
Well, only you can answer that question.
I have a good song for you here in a minute.
Okay. See, you're the tricky one because you start out a little bit quieter than both of us, but then
when I get going,
when
I get talking about stuff, and then it goes loud.
Gotta give the people what they want. Shut up, Wiser.
Like from the back end and seeing all the details.
Come on. What
It
does
is
this
true,
guy
though.
know? Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Got everybody here today.
Everybody's here.
Jared's here. Chuck's here. Wiser's here with no microphone right next to us.
Yep.
He's giving you a wave right now.
The handsome guy.
Hi.
He's saying hi. You might hear.
Couple things on the news end for updates. So we've got a updated monthly newsletter and some new YouTube stuff coming out. So basically, every month, Wiser's putting together a magical video. You could say it's chronicling the life of Cat and Cloud. This last month, which is really last week, he did a virtual tour of 2 weeks ago. Time flies when you're having fun. Virtual tour of Cat and Cloud, and the newsletter is a little bit of culture, a little bit of coffee, and then some fun things that we have on offer. So if you're curious about what's going on
It's
at
the
Cat and
chronic.
Cloud,
What
subscribe
pulls
to
of
the
Cat and
newsletter. You get the video delivered. You get some deals delivered. You get some fun, inspirational culture stuff delivered as well.
Yeah, you will.
Freak yeah, dude.
Chronic. What coals of Cat and Cloud? You guys remember that?
The Chronic. What?
Coals of Narnia. Yeah, dude.
Some of those things are just so good. You know what? I went on a binge.
Oh, yeah,
on
Saturday Night Live
a
is
couple
great.
weeks ago. I just listened to On a Boat 10 times in a row.
Just the song?
It's so good. It's legit.
Yeah.
I got hyped. I was
They were good at music and are
I was
probably
like, I'm
still
gonna
good.
make some sort of edit with this in there. It's just too good to ignore.
Gotta get on a boat
T-Pain's
first.
in it. What the
Yeah,
heck?
they
dude?
sneak T-Pain in there.
I don't know.
If you're on a boat, you gotta have T-Pain.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited about it.
There's some other people you could have, but you want T-Pain.
We have a couple things here, but I kind of
Great.
want to know how LA was for you, Jared. And
I had the best time.
I know we talked a little bit about it, but did you see anything interesting or new in the coffee world or something fun that you were vibing with?
I'd say in the coffee world, everybody has some form of anaerobically co-fermenty coffees everywhere, like a lot of them, which we already know. That's something I saw in the coffee world. I saw people loving the guest interaction more than anything. If I would be honest, like if you're having a good guest interaction, that's what really is making it people at the end of the day. Like they're coming for coffee, but you can tell there's like a difference when people are having a good time with the human versus just getting the coffee. They come in, you see them, there's groups that are getting lesser hospitality versus more, and I just got to observe that, which is interesting. Otherwise, it was more of a behind the scenes. Like I was hanging out with people when they weren't at work. And so it was a lot of conversations just around team building and leadership and general philosophy, and maybe helping people kind of get out of their own way. Some of the people I was talking to, where there's like, like us, sometimes you're on an island at sort of a top or like the upper end of your space as a leader, and you are in your head thinking about what's the right call and why. And that was most of what the conversations really ended up being about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your head is a very easy place to be.
Yeah. And you can't always talk about everything with your team because, a number of reasons, if they're not privy to all the information anyway, not because you're keeping it from them, but it's just hard to try to you have to fill people in with backstory and whys. And sometimes it's just not as easy. So you can't, there's people down there who just can't really get into those conversations in the same way.
You're just really setting me up to drop the EO network again.
Let's go, dude.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Man, it sounds like that's again like the perfect person to join the Entrepreneurs Organization as like a nonprofit network of like peer business owners that are there to support each other. And
right.
It's been an amazing network and support system for me. And it's just every time I hear about a business owner or somebody that's kind of feels like they're on an island, it's I've just got so much out of it. So I always just recommend it to everybody that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice to be able to talk to people who have a similar set of challenges.
Yeah.
Which interestingly enough spans beyond industries. Like Nick and I have conversations all the time, and he's in a completely different, he's in the automotive space, but the things that he deals with and struggles with in terms of running a business are very similar to the things that we,
Yeah, it's all like-minded.
Yeah.
we struggle with.
Totally.
And so it's kind of cool. Yeah. Support system's good. I could probably use a bigger one. Maybe one day Chuck will get me into EO, dude.
Just wait and
Fire
get in
off
there.
an email.
I'll be the lead chapter rep.
Me, the sergeant at arms.
EOnetwork.org.
There you go.
I should get like some referral.
You get a referral
I
package.
know.
You're like, the more people I get in, the more I get in. You know what I'm saying?
Plug.
Yep.
Is it a pyramid scheme?
Yeah.
You're just getting a cut off.
He's like, and you can buy some of these knives if you
hypothetical
like. They cut
bottom line.
right through the can. Watch, I'll
Got
cut
some-
through the can right now.
some Tupperware I could bring to your house?
Dude. 26-piece set.
In a
Want that.
shocking twist of events, EO is owned by Cutco.
Absolutely. And Olin, yeah.
Tupperware.
It's like the most epic marketing program of all time.
Sponsored by Mary Kay.
Totally going through the third door.
Chuck's
Yeah.
driving like a pink Cadillac to work.
Yeah,
every
Dude, that'd
day.
be sick to have one of those Mary Kay
Yeah.
Cadillacs.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could find one somewhere.
Otherwise,
Anyway.
yeah, I mean, it's like,
You got a line on a Mary Kay Cadillac, let us know.
give me it now.
Need a new daily driver.
All right. So yeah, you're talking a lot of business down there.
It was mostly that. I mean, then there's some fun, people in these coffee shop businesses are looking at fun ways to engage culture. And that is a little different down in LA because they have access to, not access, it's just there's a lot of different people looking into really niche things. Like one concept was around that whole blockchain space. There's just some concepts around that, and people are into it, and I wouldn't be able to go into detail so much in that regard because it's a place that I don't know a ton about otherwise, other than the names. It's like your blockchains and your NFTs and so on and so forth. But there is a market for it that is different than,
This is a physical cafe?
yes.
Yeah.
But also like brands that are, not specifically like brand ID stuff that's anybody can use, and that's the whole point, is that like the brand ID is able to be ubiquitously used, but it's so stony how it all works, and there's like funding for it in one way, but then anybody can use it for their own benefit, blah blah, so on and so forth, and it's just kind of like a new business concept that seems to be working, but I don't think it can work everywhere, and
Yeah. I mean, I think the
that's kind of the point in some regard, right?
the more metropolitan, the more densely populated, you're able to have more of those niche places.
Yeah.
You just got the population density for it.
And there's a lot
And
of people.
eccentric people who are wanting to be a part of those things.
Yeah. Maybe if also there's a lot more openness because of that too, to try different things, especially in that place that's basically LA. You're creating all this FOMO around something anyway, all the time, in general. In some regard, you're selling something. It's so much consumerism down there that for whatever reason, there's just opportunity to try things, and everybody's going to be interested in seeing what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, you've got how many more people than here? So if there's 10
Yes,
people
10
interested in a
million.
thing
Yeah, I was like,
here,
I don't know, at least 8
million more?
million
there's,
more. Yeah.
thousands of them there.
Right.
And then, yeah, it is a culture that celebrates the new, or at least the new and interesting, more than even a place like Santa Cruz.
Absolutely.
Santa
Oh, yeah.
Cruz it's changed a lot here since
A lot.
we first came here, but it's still at its core, it's a small beach town.
Yeah.
That's slowly
It doesn't
developing
really
into
wanna
something else.
change.
It doesn't really want to change. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of down for that too. I see both sides of the coin. Sometimes I'm just like, man, I wish it was as chill as it was in 2009. That would make me really happy. And then I like going to get nice drinks and
I feel
cocktails
you.
too on both sides of it.
Yeah. It was interesting. I mean, there's so much acceptance of crazy different culture. And I think the thing that I do like is everybody in certain areas are kind of mingling together. And I find that interesting and really cool.
When are you going to move there?
Never.
A nice little spot across the street from Disneyland.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Actually, that was funny when you drive in from a different place because you're coming from like Long Beach. And we're like coming in until you get within whatever proximity, call it 10 blocks from Disneyland. Like it's just pretty ugly. And then all of a sudden, the closer you get, the prettier it gets.
Yeah.
To Disneyland, like whatever is happening, people are investing more money in space and making it. But the girls were like, they used to want to go down there and work. And I'm like, you should see what it looks like if it would be like to live down here. There's a reason it's tough.
There's little pockets that are magical,
Yeah.
and then some of it's strange. When I was in Disneyland last time, we didn't have a car because we flew in, and I took an Uber from the Grand Californian just to go to the Sprouts
Yeah.
to get all the food, because I was like, oh, I didn't bring any food. I'm gonna stack
Get some
up on
healthy
food.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anaheim's crazy.
It's all over the place, huh?
It's a really eclectic mix. You're in Disneyland, and then you leave, and then it looks kind of like Modesto or Ceres,
for sure.
and then you go through all these different towns. And I'm just like, whoa, there's a texture here it's just nuts.
It's weird.
People talk about Southern California like it's one thing. And
No,
it's
there's
definitely
layers.
not. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to go back down there because I haven't been down there to do a proper, I don't know what you call it, coffee crawl for a while and see.
There's a lot.
I'm usually
There's a
there,
lot.
and then I realize I want to see something new, and I ask everybody, and I get maybe one recommendation that's fine, and then
Well, and it takes some time to drive anywhere, right?
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
gotta
10
plan it
miles
out.
could be an hour and a half. So you got to plan. I would like to too. There's plenty of cool new things happening, and
I want to go see all these weird things.
yeah. And I mean, I had good coffee experiences, and not a lot of them. I mean, it goes so fast when you're trying to like dad, and then you're in business world, and then at like 4.5 hours of hanging out at a coffee shop, your kids are over it, and everybody's like, yeah, you should get them out of here. And I'm like, I'm gonna like,
Totally.
they want to get in a pool, and then you know dinner's till like almost 10, and they're tired, and you're I'm like, yep, time to go. Like, shout out to my kids, they're killing it, but
Shout out
it
to
made me way more tired to like have to think about 2 tracks at the same time, and I also very much enjoyed myself.
Super
That's what
weird.
you do sometimes, yeah. I know, super weird that it's like that.
Weird. All right, we're gonna reach into the questions bag here. This was one that was gonna come up last week, but I said no, Jared needs to be here for this one.
Well, great, it's gonna be a real banger then.
It's not a.
I'm gonna be like,
No, we
Tom?
saved like we handled the hard ones
We
last
handled the
week,
easy
and
ones.
then
Bring
we
out
would just
like,
get
you
like
know
the
what, just
softballs.
give me the
for
softballs, yeah,
Jared.
just low, and then it's the home run every
Yeah.
time. Home run.
It says, "What time should I open the cafe in
Yeah.
the morning?"
You know what?
I'd like to be
Always.
open early, but not too early because I get tired.
It's like I'd like to get there.
This is
but
from
when I
Gabriel.
want. Gabriel wants to get there.
Or Gabrielle. I don't know. I'd like to hear about the importance of the details. What I mean by that is things like the type of cups you select, the ways coffee is placed on the counter, the choice of silverware you purchased. What are the tiny things that were deemed important in opening a cafe, and why? Tiny things.
Tiny salmon swimming in a stream. That's just for me, guys. Thanks.
Well, no, it's not just for you, but
Come on, dude, softball.
Yeah,
dude.
dude,
Weiser had
let's throw
this
it
teed
to
up
you.
last week, but last week it was just myself and Chuck.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, this is a very cafe specific question. So instead of
No, I'm
me
kidding.
just talking to Charles about it, like we got to wait for Jared. So
No, I like
you
this.
know,
It's a good question. It's one of those questions that I find like it seems really obvious to me, and then I understand that it's not obvious to everyone else. I also can see how it could be maybe overwhelming without being able to back it with like your whys and your intentions, you know? So like that to me would be where I'd start is you as whoever you are and whatever your business is, you need to kind of get really real with what you think your guests want and hopefully match that with whatever things that are yours that you really want to express. And then you can decide. So like for us, we had reasons for pretty much everything, right? We had a reason for why we picked the espresso machine we did, the grinders that we did, and they all fed into not only our value system, but the way we wanted to deliver the experience to the guests. And we had multiple whys, right? I mean, that's maybe where you can get overwhelmed, but our whys were mixing quality, efficiency, the ability to take as much energy from the mindset of the person creating the drink set and or the experience behind the counter and allow them to put the most energy into expressively, you know, interacting outward to the guests. And whatever we could do to minimize like how quote unquote hard it is to make drinks and food behind the counter, we minimize that so that you can focus on guest interaction, having a good time, and what would essentially feel like presence, right?
yeah, I have a good one, I think. So in terms of the details, you know, they said, okay, the type of cups I think is a great one. So when we opened Portola, we had our friend Sean make us espresso cups and flat white cups, and he hand molded everything. They're these really intricate, detailed ceramics, and even the saucer was this hexagonal shape, which matched the bar cutout that our friend Mikey made. So if you had a espresso saucer on the counter, it would just kind of fit into that hexagon motif perfectly.
Yeah. That was
Same
really fun.
size and everything. And we ran that for about a year plus. And one of the things with those was they're super awesome. Sean just kind of made them whenever he wanted to, because we're just like, hey, we need 30, and he would deliver them at some time, and there was never actually 30. Sometimes there's 50. Sometimes it was a little less. We never knew what color they were going to be, and it was really fun, and it was a cool part of Cat and Cloud life.
It was super fun
in the beginning. I'm like, this is awesome, and the reason I liked it is because nobody else had anything even close to it. He was only making cups for us wholesale. That was it. And
you could throw him a random idea, and then he'd riff on it, and then you'd get cups back with this cool design, like all his artwork. He was a great artist as well.
Yeah.
So you could like play with it. It was really cool.
And then as we started to grow in scale, it became a little unreliable to be able to stock all of the cafes with that specific cup and that ordering. We have breakage. 4 locations are trying to order cup. We just need something more reliable. So over time, what the most important to us shifted from, okay, we still need to have something that looks and feels special, but we need to be able to work with a vendor who's super reliable and almost, he's an artist.
Yeah.
And now we work with Created Co. and they're
manufacturers.
They're a manufacturer, right? They're a big company. So it's how do you, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like different levels of uniqueness for different stage at the business, and right now it's like we have to have somebody that we can count on as a vendor.
I mean, I think that's absolutely valid. I mean, that's also why we picked SF Roasters when we did, right? It's like, who's going to be close to us in the States, can help us fix stuff if it breaks. Doesn't matter how cool all these other roasters are, if you have one that looks really amazing and it's not working for you and you can't fix it for a long time, that's going to bring stress to us. So I mean, there's like applicability and logic to that portion of it, and then the rest, like I said, who are you and what do you want to express? What kind of colors, what kind of feelings, what kind of interaction do you want to have? I mean, gosh, we at the time, this again, it's kind of sort of moot feeling because now anybody can do this, but at the time we picked like these specific kinds of Sonos speakers so that you could maximize and minimize volume levels in different parts of your cafe. And Portola is really small. If you've never been there, so we'd play with volume levels so that you could hear things where you needed to hear them. And I mean, that's intention. We picked speakers for that reason. We picked at the time heating and air conditioning, somewhat based on budget, somewhat though based on maximizing that to where you can cool off a place and heat off a place. I mean, think about just the general 5 senses that you experience the world through, and then try to answer the question of what would be the best experience for my guests based on, sight, sound, taste, feel, hear what you hear and what you smell. And when you do that and you say, is anything taking away from the experience that you want, and or, there's stuff that we can't get perfect or we don't get perfect still, those are the things that you kind of address first. Is it detracting and distracting? And you can kind of start that way. I think one of the best things you might be able to do always is, if you don't know what you want for sure, start making a list of the things you for sure don't want. And then you can kind of go on the reverse osmosis there and antithesis, like, okay, I'm going this way now because I know clearly what I don't want, and then that might help you. I know I'm being relatively broad, but at the same time, that's why I feel like somewhat it's so obvious, and then at the same time, I understand why it's a challenge.
It's also really personal.
Yeah,
Again, to what kind of
that's
experience you want to create and how that's going to feel, and all those little details are going to impact how somebody feels when they come into the space.
I guess the other thing I would say that feels really important is recognizing, and I know I mentioned it briefly, but recognizing what is that point where you are seeing everything the guests want, and then finding the things that you want to deliver, and what are you maybe missing out on for maybe ego's sake versus what are you just not willing to offer. And I think that is like a kind of a gray idea, but at the same time, we opened with only serving 12-ounce drinks, right? And we quickly got tons of feedback of, we want a 16-ounce drink, and we didn't honestly, we got into the business thinking it was going to be cool to do that and totally valid and good. And, you know, it was like the best expression of our drinks. And that is mostly true based on only our palates, but we're not the only people drinking our coffee.
Well, not even our palates, though. It's also like a simplicity play. It's like none of the three of us are ordering a latte ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But we also thought like, okay, this is like the perfect, you know, we were going for like our
Right.
best ratios. I'm just saying. So
Sure.
like,
there's like some sort of concession
I mean,
for like
one out of three of us might have wanted to have a 16-ounce drink, but you know, I'm just gonna sit
so
over
I mean,
here.
that's all. Yeah. Like,
is it the money guy?
yeah. One of the three of us said we would probably do better if we sold a 16-ounce
I'm a
drink.
purist. Look, we're having 8-ounce drinks
Right.
only, and we're getting all of our ceramics from Sean. Okay,
For
we're out of stock on everything, but it's fine. It's
Forever.
premium experience. All right.
So, I mean, I feel like that's a great example of us going like, this is what we wish we could do.
Yeah.
And it's not a good idea. And
Right.
we're not going to do that. We're not going to go to the 30 ouncer like Starbucks, but we are going to go to 16 and we're happy to do that. And we can make a drink that tastes amazing that way. And again, that comes back to that old specialty thing we used to talk about all the time, which is if you are unwilling to try to meet the guests where they're at, they're going to find whatever they were wanting somewhere else.
Yep.
And so can you do your very best to offer something?
Yeah,
And
like your version,
yeah.
your inspired version of.
Yeah, that was a big conversation we had about the creamy beige, which is our blended drink, because we're coming out of this era where it was super not cool to have a blended drink if you were a high-end
Yeah.
third wave specialty coffee company.
Haters gonna hate.
We had all those conversations. It's like, look, there are people that just want a blended drink. There's nothing wrong with that. If you
Yeah.
want something sweet and creamy, hey, you should have something sweet and creamy. So you're either going to get something sweet and creamy from Starbucks or the weird place around the corner, or you can get the best version of a sweet and creamy
Yeah, we can
thing
make
at
something
Cat and
awesome.
Cloud in a really good environment. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I would rather have those people come here, and I
Yeah.
think they're going to be happier for it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. And if we can't make a good one, then sure, maybe don't serve it, but we can make a good
But
one.
we can make
and
a
we
good
did.
one.
Yeah.
We can figure out how to make a good
Yeah.
one. Yeah. When I think of questions like this, I think a lot about opportunity cost and time and energy too. Because specifically with cafe wares, you know, Weiser makes in his notes here, he's saying, it's like, yeah, we get our silverware from Amazon. You know, it's not like we're out there shopping for these bespoke silverware. So it'd be cool if we had really fancy, crazy forks, but what is the time, attention, opportunity cost of that in terms of our leadership and ordering strategy? You know, do we want Herman scouring the globe for interesting and unique silverware, or do we want him growing leaders in the cafe, you know, and helping people move through, oh, cool, I'm really good at interfacing with the guests, getting the guests what we need. I'm really good at making espresso. I'm really good at giving and receiving feedback. I'm really good at making sure my cafe P&L's dialed in. All those things are more important in the bigger picture than the other thing. And if you got those things dialed and you want to spend your, you know, time searching for silverware, that's fine. But in an
That is something
environment
to
like,
call out. You're right, though.
you know,
You can get overwhelmed trying to do all of those things.
well, I remember when we opened,
we would try.
I was on this hunt for the perfect demi spoon.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had that time bandwidth available because we're in the middle of the build out.
Yeah.
We're not
We're not
serving
doing things
guests
all
yet,
day.
and we're not managing a store, let alone 4 and 100 plus people.
Yeah.
And now it's different. I can't see myself going in a 5-hour wormhole every day looking for the perfect Demitas spoon.
Yeah.
It's
Tour across the
I know
world.
we had some for a little while, right? And then it's like that place couldn't keep up with us too. And then it was like, cool, well, never
And
mind.
the guests in our spots, the guests don't notice those things as much as they notice how you treat them when they walk in the door,
Yeah.
the greeting they receive, how clean is the space, are all their details attended to? You know, is someone listening to them? It's like all of those things.
You
like
might
you
argue
said,
most of the time that's
service.
true.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah, people and service make everything all together. So, I mean, it's a good question too, right? You ask that question, and then again, go back to how's it going to feel to go into your space when the interactions start happening? Because we don't always care about the same thing our guests do, and that I like those spoons that we used to have. I remember them. There's some really cool vibes to them, but nobody was getting an espresso, drinking it, and then be like, "Man, this spoon is sick," you know, and. That may or may not matter. Some people actually would feel
No,
it.
I
You
mean,
can feel details, so I
to
will give you
the
that.
counterpoint to that
Right.
would be like if everything is crafted in a way that creates a certain feeling where everything ties together, the
Right.
spoons,
It's like
the
so
cups,
obvious.
the ceramics, the space. It's like that. I think that is the ideal where everything that you want to focus on creates the experience that you want to have. And that could be part of it, down to the spoons, but it's just, again, what your priorities are.
Yeah. I mean, that's where you're getting them. My love of like Disney things, right? Is like each attraction has this like ultimate attention to detail in the best ones, right?
Yeah.
From A to Z. As soon as you step foot on whatever portion of that land counts as that attraction, is like you're in that space. And
all the details should be.
yeah, and they like, you know, spare no expense. I'm doing quotes because I'm sure that for them they actually do spare expense. But I mean, compared to places like us, you know, you're not able to spend multi-million dollars on one space to just make it as detail intensive as possible. And it'd be really amazing if we could get an ROI. If anybody could get an ROI on that and we could do it one day, it'd be so fun. But
Yeah, it's interesting because in the attractions, absolutely. You know, when you're in Cars Land, I love Cars
Right.
Land. When you're walking through Cars Land, it feels like you're in Radiator Springs.
right.
But those things are, they're not set it and forget it, but they are set. But when you
Absolutely.
go in,
It's like a one time, right?
when you go into the restaurants there, so, you know, if you're eating at Pixar Pier
Sure.
or something like that, plates are just normal plates.
Yeah.
Silverware is just normal silverware. The glassware isn't special at all. Everything's just pretty mundane.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Blue Bayou. You know, you go in and, I mean, it's sick because you're inside Pirates of the Caribbean and there's a vibe, but all those little details, those things aren't on a super crazy level.
No.
You know,
No,
so
no,
it's
no.
interesting.
It is secondary, right?
Because you're kind of looking at those things are going to get lost, broken, that you need to turn them over, which is
Right.
different than, you know, some of those multi-Michelin star experiences we've had
Right.
where this fork is undeniably out of this world.
How do you like choose your own knife?
Choose your
Right.
own knife from this case of
Yeah.
things. It was like hammered by some Viking, and, you know,
Outside the
some
Viking
time
hammers,
gone
dude.
by. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
There's levels to this.
There are levels
Find yours.
to it. Yeah. What's the most important thing to you? Focus on the most important things, and then you got to have just like a
hierarchy.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
Of what you want to spend your most time on, what the biggest impact to the guest in your business is, and you don't want to major in the minors. Yeah, that's what the cool kids say.
And,
you know,
and then optimize. Because I mean, budget's a real thing for everybody, right? I mean, I wanted an espresso machine that's maybe more expensive than what is worth our space in Portola. I wanted, you know, a 3-group mod bar is awesome, but it's way more expensive than a 3-group Strata. And we, you know, it's like there's reasons for why I wanted that in the corner, but at the same time, it didn't work for us, and we can make everything else work the same way. So what do? We get a nice large drip tray and make sure that the operational flow and everything is awesome. And it's a great machine either way. Either one's great. It's just with the space in Portola, you could get more counter space with something under, but it was also a $10,000 difference, and we didn't have $10,000 extra to spend on a machine at the time, or 12 even, or whatever it was. So
No.
yeah.
know?
I mean, we were already spending 20.
yeah, it was like, exactly. It's like, and it's our first cafe. So anyway, it's okay if you don't have the budget for something. You don't have to buy like the show pony piece to be successful always. Is kind of where I was going with that one, you know?
Yeah.
People, vibe, that's all going to work in your favor. They're not going to come in and be like, oh shit, they don't have a mod bar. I'm out of here. I don't have a spirit. They don't have a whatever. Yeah. That's not what people think.
Yeah.
So maybe that pumps you up a little bit. Maybe it doesn't, but this is the truth.
Hell yeah, dude.
Hell yeah,
See,
dude.
that's why I wanted you to be here.
Totally.
'Cause I knew you'd have something to say.
Well, we always do.
I know.
We have microphones in front of us. We actually have to say something. You
I
better
put it-
say something.
I put it on the calendar, and if they don't show up, it's a fucking problem.
And then they have to say something.
And they have to say something.
And they have to freaking say something. This damn
Say something.
microphone.
It's like
Wait,
Eleanor,
is this
she
thing
walks
on?
around. I need something.
Yeah, I'm like, me too, dude.
I need something.
You're
She
like,
starts taking things out of places. I need something. Say something.
You're like, the pressure is high. Is it a two-parter?
No,
That was it?
I mean, look, I think that's great. There's another question, but it's going to be as much of a deep dive. I'm not going to lie to you. We got a lot of work to do.
I know.
We
I
have
feel the
some
same
conversations
way.
to
I know.
have.
We got a lot of work to do.
and some,
I got a lot of work to do catching up after being gone all last week as well.
and some things to dial in. So, I'll open it up for closing remarks. If anybody's got ender to end on. I think we got to give Kay a shout out for sure.
I mean, shout out to Kay and our friends at Dune and Julia and Todd and Mel and Felix and all that squad who just brought the heat. Congratulations, Kay, United States
Won that
Barista Champion.
U.S. Barista
Dude,
Championship.
He's been working.
He's been
It's
trying
just
for a
cool to
minute.
see the progression, right? It's like he put in the time, put in the work, and it's like, I don't know, started in the top 10 and then just creeped up the top 10 and kept with it. And
Kept on building with his building blocks, if you will. That was
Yeah.
his
whittling
presentation.
down the competition.
just wearing everybody down.
Whittle down while building up. His presentation was on building blocks. That's why I'm saying that.
Oh yeah. Did you watch it?
I watched some of his semifinals performance.
Yeah.
Because they were posted at live.
Building
Yeah.
blocks like Legos.
Could be.
I don't know. We were just talking about this in the cafe. I don't know who's responsible. I don't know if anybody feels the way I feel about this. Can we have the USBC at Expo like it used to be?
Bring the energy.
Please bring the United States Barista Championship back to SCA Expo. It's such a shitty missed opportunity to have the competition be separate from the expo. It is the dumbest thing. I can't fathom why. All I can think of is there's two bureaucrats at each one of these organizations that used to be connected, and now they're mad at each other for something. I'm going to have the coffee championships over here.
Yeah.
It's like,
you
dude,
can't have it.
if you actually want these things to matter and want to expose people to the magic of what these things are, it makes sense to put it where the most people are, and that's at Expo. Put it at Expo. Get your
facts are
shit
in.
together. And no, I don't care enough to actually do anything about it, but I do have a really big opinion about it, okay? Because how magical is it to go to Expo when you're competing with
That's
all your
way
friends and
cooler.
the whole energy around it? It's something electric about it, and that's
Absolutely.
just gone. So come on, everybody.
Your first expo was such a big deal. I remember Long Beach walking in. Holy crap, it's huge. And I know it's different.
Super
but
cool.
Well, there's two people on a podcast somewhere else being like, if you don't like that the USBC is not at
You
Expo,
make it
then you
yourself.
can join SCA and you can be a part of the solution.
I did that before.
I
Hey, I was on the executive council of the Barista Guild of America. Okay, I put in my time. I was in the calls. I was
remember
in
you being on those
meetings.
calls.
We were setting up the inaugural barista camp back in the day. I tried to be a part of it. It's too bureaucratic for me. The whole thing, I just can't deal. Like, respect to everybody who does it. These things
because
are.
you probably feel cray.
It's a lot of work.
Yep.
And not a lot of. You have to really. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this.
How do I say this?
So for me, when I was involved with those things, that was in the era when I kind of just started working at Verve.
Yeah, I remember.
So I've got a full-time job. I'm also trying to compete and do other things outside of work, and it's just like a big time commitment.
Yeah.
For not a huge amount of reward. So there were a group of people who, however their work life worked out, could dedicate just a gigantic amount of time to that, and that's cool. It just wasn't me, and shout out to them. So yeah, I'm kind of complaining from a place where I'm saying I'm not going to do anything about it, but I also think it's just such a dumb idea to not have it be at Expo. And if I were 22 and in the mix of this barista competition universe, I probably would be doing whatever I could do to get it moved back to Expo. But as a, middle-aged man
Shout
I
out
know
to
that was hard
Middle
to say
Jen.
for you.
running a company, I got other priorities that I got to chip off. So it's like, get your shit together, all right?
Hey everyone, that's the podcast for the week. Thanks so much for listening. If you heard something that inspired you, or if you heard something that gave you more questions than answers, send us an email to podcast@catandcloud.com. And if you're looking to know more about us, then head to our website at catandcloud.com, where you can find everything we have to offer. A great place to start would be The Answer, our house coffee that's right for any occasion. Or the Best Friends Blend, a coffee that tastes just as good as the good it does by donating $1 per pound back to our partnering producers. Also, if you're feeling extra friendly, connect with us in the usual places, like YouTube, Instagram, pretty much everywhere that's hip. All right, that's it. Thanks for being awesome, everyone, and we'll be back next week.